Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you're listening. I want to congratulate you on taking steps towards bettering yourself in this game we call real estate. My name is Hunter Boyd. I'm the Director of Sales for the Sereday team. And today we are joined by Cliff Sereday. He is the Team Leader, Director of Sales of the Marti Hampton Real Estate Team. Cliff, thanks for joining today, man.
Thank you for having me.
Cliff is not only a colleague, but he is a friend. And today we're going to learn a little bit more about him, a little bit about the Marti Hampton Real Estate and their success, and where we see Triangle Real Estate going over the next 6, 12 months, even a year and 5 years. So Cliff, let's kind of start from the beginning, man. Where are you from? What's your story?
Yeah, so I am from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, born and raised, moved here about just over 3 years ago. I got my start in real estate pretty young. I actually kind of fell into it.
Okay.
So I had a family friend who was a private investor. He had about 50 doors of purchasing and holding, and then a few flip and sells. And they needed a project manager and property manager for the properties he was holding. So I thought I can do that.
Yeah.
And I hated it.
No kidding.
So I was there for just over a year. And we were dealing with a lot of low-income housing, like Section 8 HUD properties. So it was just a little too heavy on my heart. I'm a crier, and I can't deal with that kind of stuff. So I, was just kind of pondering what I wanted to do next, and general brokerage just seemed like the right move. And I went to a pretty large firm. There we had 3 locations in southeast Wisconsin, where I was a franchise operator or operations manager for those 3 locations, and kind of that's where I got my start. And right after COVID, my grandparents moved to Raleigh, and I kind of okey-doke myself and was looking at jobs and got in contact with Marti and her partner Paul, and came and visited and moved down 2 weeks later.
Wow. So you came straight from Wisconsin to Marti Hampton Real Estate?
Yes. Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. Talk a little bit about like your role with them now. I know you're team leader, director of sales. Mm-hmm. I see you involved in buyer side and list side. To be honest with you, you're all over the place. So talk to me a little bit about that. What's your day-to-day look like?
Yeah. So it's crazy. So I think I'll talk about a little bit the differences, I guess, kind of where I came from to now.
Yeah.
So I came from a traditional like franchise setting where there was just all independent agents. Everyone was kind of for themselves. Mm-hmm. The onboarding was, very different. Even just from the start, I was kind of just doing like applications to join our franchise, and then they were on their way, just kind of doing it. And it was a lot less competitive in Milwaukee, I'll say. But coming from there to a team setting was very different because I have more skin in the game now. There's really we have a lot less agents than I had. About at my peak, I think we had 80 agents on our underneath our franchise, which was good. We did a lot of production, but it was 80 agents.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit crazy, but now we have about 35 agents on our team, all going to one goal.
Yeah.
Versus their kind of individual goals. So it looks a little different. So my day-to-day, I'm doing there's obviously a lot of fires through transactions and just kind of agent development. We're dealing with a bunch of different kinds of experience levels. So we have agents that are, freshly out of their post-licensing, and then we have some agents that have been licensed for 10 plus years. So just kind of getting in step with those agents, and it looks different with everyone. So just kind of navigating that on a day-to-day.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of growth, one in knowledge, but even sheer number of buyers agents over there this year. Tell us what that process has been like, just finding the right ones when you have to make sure that they fit all right, they have the right mindset and things. I've actually heard you doing some presentations on when someone's switching careers, great careers that have led to great agents. Yep. So talk a little bit about what you look for there.
Yeah, so we went probably, I'll say a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. We were coming out of the COVID era where anyone could sell a house, anyone could help buy a house.
Buy it, it's cheap.
Yep. Yeah. And so we kind of had to switch gears here because the market, I think last year we can all agree it was, whether you had a great year or you had a bad year, it was just a tough year in general. So we had to kind of look at what was good for our business as a whole, and that was recruiting for us was a good move for us, because the agent, like the per agent production, I think across all teams is down, and I have doors I have to keep open. Our overhead every month, we have 10 staff members, inside staff members, so there's people relying on us as in leadership,
support staff, or even your agents,
right?
Yeah.
Just to make sure their productivity stays where it's at, and increase. So we switch gears, and the coaches that we work with, we all kind of navigated towards just like keep recruiting. Our agents move our money. I'm not in production. Marty's not in production. So if my agents aren't selling, we're not making money, and that's right. We have to kind of dig deeper with them. So when I'm looking for an agent, I think the biggest thing is where they're coming from. Now I think I have an agent, my top agent, one of my top agents, she came from radio sales. And in her first year, she did, I think, 26 transactions. And
Jeez.
Yeah. And she plugged in, took the tools and ran with it. And then another, like a safe bet usually is a nurse or an educator, because they have that nurturing kind of bedside, table manners. So that's really interesting, really big for us to looking at just kind of what their past career was and just how they kind of operate. I actually met with a recruit yesterday, and they got licensed during COVID, and they had a really good year. Their first year license, I think they did like 15 transactions, which isn't a lot, right? On a team, it's definitely a production game.
Yeah.
But for someone being first year, getting them to do over 6 it's great.
Yeah.
But I also take in consideration it was a COVID licensee.
Yeah.
So was I think a little bit easier to sell real estate, like 21, 22. Yeah. But then they fizzled out. And so when they're wanting to join our team, and I can't just take anybody. It's not lucrative for them. It's not lucrative for us. And I had to ask them, like, what's different now? What's going to change now that so you don't fizzle out again, or what that looked like? Because I want to just make sure I can get in step with them and make sure that because I can motivate, but I can't give you motivation.
Right.
I can't give you that drive to want to have those conversations that you have to have. And just doing the day-to-day as a realtor, I can't put that in you.
Yeah. So Marti Hampton Real Estate has been in the market for many years now.
Yep.
Talk about sustainability and how you have seen that either change dynamics, whether they change with the times, or just the cultural significance of being in a market for that long and having that type of sustainability. What do you see as like a winning ticket for that? So
I think too, it's interesting because we see a lot of I'm gonna come right back to that, but to my point, there's a lot of like new blood coming in, which is great. And there's a lot of agents that I'm watching, and I'm keeping my eye on, because they're going to be the next Marti. They'll be the next Marti Hamptons in our market. But I do think, one, because Marti's been around for 30 plus years in the Triangle, there's that branding that just is. She's a household name. There's a lot of realtors that do a lot of production, but they don't, like, the consumer doesn't know who they are.
Yeah.
But if you can go into pretty much any household in the Triangle, and they've heard of Marti Hampton, so that definitely helps.
Her presence on radio has been, for a long time. Even before social media was a big thing. Like, she was still household because everyone listened to the radio.
Yep. And she'll talk about that too. I think she has invested, well over, I'd say, $2 million in radio advertisement over her career. But that has helped, and it's now we're getting the return on it. I mean, she's obviously has always had a great successful career, but now we're really reaping the benefits of where her phone's ringing.
Yeah.
And I think it's huge for us to stay successful, but I think also just adaptability with the markets, and we put different people in place. Like, this is my position on our team is new since I've started with them. So it's just kind of changing, because the way that I'm obviously I have about 9 years experience in the industry, and I just have a different look on things than Marty, and it's great because like me and Marty always joke like we don't always agree on things, but I don't want to have to always agree.
Yeah.
I think that's important too. If we agreed on everything, I feel like nothing would get done, or nothing great would get done. But if we can kind of have different views on, there's 100 ways to skin a cat, and if what might work for Marty may work for me, what works for me may work for Marty, but there's that collaboration there, and I think that's the biggest piece, is just having that unity across our leadership team.
Yep, I see that even on the loan side where, we're all in sales, and we all have different sales tactics, sales style.
Yep.
While one may be a match for one client, I may be the worst nightmare for someone who needs someone that's slow and steady with the numbers. And I'm more of the excitement, like, oh my God, you're about to buy your first investment property. Oh, you're a first time home buyer. You're about to start building equity. That's more my speed. That's more my personality. But we have other members on the team who are just very chill, very low key, and that has helped a lot of buyers who are that type. So I completely understand that perspective. Well, tell us a little bit about leader involvement with your agents, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about you said 10 support staff that you have as well. What are their roles and how they,
so I think we kind of have a unique setup over at our team. I know there's, pretty much every team is going to have transaction coordinators, and they'll have, like a listing coordinator, but we really kind of created a plug-and-play situation for agents that are productive, or that they want productivity, and I think every salesperson they're yearning for that. But we have a marketing department. Our director of marketing is, honestly, I'm obviously gonna be a little biased, but he's probably the best in the triangle.
He rocks.
He can do literally anything. I'm very much of I try not to dump on him. But I do have ideas, but he really, same thing with Marty, if we have, it's 3,000 foot view, and he can bring it in, and he can execute it. And I had, there's obviously some stuff going on with NAR right now.
Yes.
And we'll probably get into that, shortly.
For sure.
And, but we had to do some stuff with our buyer presentation, and I sat in the conference room. I needed it in front of me on paper, and I shredded I got everything cleared out of the conference room, and I laid out probably 10 different buyer presentations that I had, from colleagues from different teams across the country, and kind of Mod Podge this crazy buyer presentation together. And I just got the email actually right before I pulled up that he had that done, and I gave it to him last week. So he's on it. So that's huge for not only our branding for Marty, but for our agents as well. So if they have any digital ideas, any video ideas, any print marketing, postcards, whatever that looks like, they just submit a media request, and he meets with them and then executes it, and then they get to put it out and get their name and face out there as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then our our transaction department, they pretty much, if you're a listing agent, you go and you get the agreement signed, you get all the appropriate documents in, turn it into them, and they take it from there. They get it all the way to active, and then you really could kind of step away from the transaction if you wanted to. I don't recommend that, but you could if you wanted to. And then once it goes under contract, our closing staff, you'll have the same TC throughout the whole transaction. We'll take it all the way to closing. They're all licensed realtors, so they'll do all your negotiations for you for due diligence. And then everyone closes, and we're happy, and we get paid, and on to the next one.
Here we go. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so Triangle Real Estate. We have seen years where we've had over 20% appreciation some years. Mm-hmm. We've seen years, we've been through 7.5%, 8% interest rates together.
Yep.
Just seen a refinance boom, and people cashing in on the equity they've gained in their homes, using that to buy other homes. Talk to me about Triangle Real Estate, your just perspective on it from a director of sales or team leader position, and where you see us going.
Yeah, so I think this year, I think we're in an amazing election year. We have two great candidates. And so I think it's going to get. I think it's a production game right now.
Yeah.
I do feel like we are going to slow down as we approach the election. But I do, in regards to like appreciation, I think it's more of a fair playing field right now. Definitely, I still think it's property to property, which is, I think I'm a little bit newer into the Raleigh market. So like past 3 years, I've really, not aware of, what was going on. But from, I think the market that we had last year, and it was changing every 2 minutes. I think we're more on a steady pace.
Yeah.
But I do think we still have stuff working against salespeople.
Yeah.
And getting them to. I was just. I think we were just talking about or maybe I was listening to something that you were talking about the interest rates.
Yes.
They're still high compared to COVID.
That's right.
That aren't real. Those aren't real. I don't even keep those in my brain.
100-year lows.
Yep.
Those are 100-year lows, and yeah.
Yep. So getting buyers to be okay with refinancing, and think we have an amazing lender partner that will do those refis, notify you when you can refi, and then all is good. Because right now, I think the appreciation rate in Raleigh, yesterday is still going to be the best day to buy.
Yeah.
Always. And I think forever it'll be like that.
Yeah. I mean, state politics, they have made it very beneficial for big businesses to move into the state. And businesses bring people and employees bring families.
Yep.
And so those families need homes. And I completely agree. Yesterday was the best day to buy real estate. But, today's better than tomorrow. So if you can get someone into a home right now, allow them to experience appreciation, allow them to see, for a first-time home buyer, appreciation working in their benefit than working against them. Every year that a first-time home buyer puts off buying it for another year, they're now accepting that they're going to pay more next year than what they're paying for this year on the same house. So allowing a first-time home buyer to experience that, I think, really educates them, because I think you guys do it as well, but we do like annual check-ins. We send our clients appreciation calculators. Hey, look, your home is estimated to have gone up this much. I'm a past client of the Sherry Rihanna team. That's how I was introduced to them. I still get my updates on a monthly update of, hey, look, this is where we think your equity is right now. And I know y'all guys do very similar things where you check in with your past clients and you touch base with them. You want to make sure that at the end of a deal, they feel like they still have a relationship with a buyer's agent, just like with a lender. And when they feel that way, they experience something that's more than a transaction. And so now they have somebody to come to when they need advice in the future. And if they're looking for a home equity line, or if they're looking to buy an investment property, they have someone already in mind. We tell our clients all the time, at the end of this deal, if you're talking to somebody and they're considering buying a home, we want their response to be, holy hell, I've got the right person for you to talk to. And I know that you guys have the same mindset as well, which is, I think, why we work so well together. Next season of real estate in the Triangle, I think, is going to be an interesting one, depending on when we can get a rate cut. But we will see. There, like you had mentioned, there is something happening in November that may sway things one way or the other. But yeah, anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I think I think going forward, just some advice, maybe some advice to agents out there is, and you just said it, like, make sure that your transactions are not transactional.
Yeah.
We're going into a relational season in real estate come August 17th, when I do not think your world is going to flip over. If you're working and you're having those conversations and you're talking to people about real estate and you're showing your value, you'll be fine. Just keep working. Keep talking to people.
It's similar to what we experienced in 2009 and 2010, after the 2008 crash, and also even with interest rates when they were at, when they hit 7% for the first time. This is the second summer of 7%. We even came real close to 8% at the end of last year. And something that, Sherry really drove home to all of us on the team was, we are not the only people dealing with this. Yep. Every other lender out there is dealing with the same thing. And just like, coming up in the next 45 days or so with you guys, you are not the only agent dealing with the changes in
Yeah.
that's happening in your field. Every other agent is feeling this. Everyone is going to figure this out together. There will be an established new normal that comes, and it's just going to take a little bit adjustment period. But those that survive will thrive.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. We just got the documents for the new NICREC documents.
Yeah.
And I like them. I think they explain everything a little bit better. I think it's going to be a change, but change is good. And now, I mean, we have agents like we as an industry set that 2.4% standard for buyer's agents, and now I have agents that are now it's your destiny's in your own hands. If you can get 3.5% from a buyer, go get 3.5%. But you better have the value behind it, and you better create that relationship.
Exactly right.
So
that's good. That's good. Cliff, thanks for being on today. This has been Mortgage Mindset. If you would like to be a guest, please reach out to us at team@thesherryrianoteam.com or 919-234-7415. We'll see you next Wednesday. The Mortgage Mindset podcast is hosted by the Sherry Riano team at Clear Mortgage, powered by City First Mortgage Services, LLC. Sherry Riano's NMLS ID is 71774. Visit us at thesherryrianoteam.com for more information about our team. The opinions expressed on this show by the hosts and their guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Clear Mortgage or City First Mortgage Services. Please note that Clear Mortgage is powered by City First Mortgages, LLC, and their NMLS ID is 3117. Clear Mortgage and City First Mortgage Services is not an agency of the federal government and is not acting on behalf of or the direction of HUD, FHA. City First Mortgage Services is an equal housing lender. Programs, rates, and terms subject to change without notice. Underwriting terms and conditions apply.